Hey everyone, I'm Gina Doyle. I'm Senior Product Designer for the Runner team. And today for the UX Showcase, I'm going to talk about how we enabled more visibility into runner fleets. I'm going to pretty much fly through the presentation just because I would love to spend most of the time doing a more discussion with the team, whoever's on the call. Okay. So a quick runner's refresher, just because we don't always have to deal with runners every day. So runners power CI/CD because they are the machines that actually run the jobs. A common example that a lot of us in the UX department will go through is when we're creating an MR to update a handbook page, for example. When you create that MR, you'll see on the page that a pipeline automatically starts running because that's how we've set it up for that project. And it usually includes stages, which are those larger icons that look like build and deploy or test. You might see stages named something else. And each of those stages contain one or many jobs. Typically, if we're following some good naming structures, the stage names will represent the jobs that are in that stage. For example, the test stage would contain jobs that test the code, which might also be named in some variation of test. And then each one of those jobs is what is picked up by a shared runner in our case, because we're using GitLab.com. And each one of those shared runners has a tag. So when you, I'm going to just bring this up because this is my example page that we can use. Let me get out of this. Okay, so this is the MR. Here's the stages that we got here. So if I go into the build and deploy stage, I'll go into this job. I can see the runner that ran this, and then I can also see the tags that were used. So in order for this runner to pick up this job, it has to have the same tag. That's how runners have, that's how they just pick up jobs. They have to have the same tag in order to do that. All right, so I'm going to go back here. And so this is like best case scenario. Everything goes well. You see the runner picks it up. But what happens if there's an issue with the runner that's supposed to pick up that job? You can use your little raise hand in here if you've ever sat and wondered why it's taken so long for a job to move from pending state, or maybe you're sitting there waiting for a job to finish running. And that might happen when you're creating an MR or reviewing an MR or even just running a pipeline. I know I've been in that situation many of times and have been wondering what's happening. So at this point, your workflow is completely blocked. You can't debug why the job is pending. You don't have access to see shared runner details because you're not an admin. Only GitLab admins can get details into those shared runners. And this is something that our actual company does. We have a team that manages all of our shared runners that we supply for anyone using GitLab.com. And they're the only ones who can access those runners. So as a developer in our case, what do? What we've been seeing and hearing is that developers will reach out to admins through Slack or whatever other communication portal or program they're using, and basically say, hey, this job is stuck in pending. Is there some way that you can bump it up, or is there something wrong with a runner? And so admins in this case are very reactive. They often check the UI quickly for our runners page just to get a sense of runner status, making sure everything is online. But then they often go into runner logs locally, something that they can get up locally, or if they're hosting their runners through a cloud platform, which a lot of our users do, they'll look at the runner logs there to see more and see what's happening with them. Okay, so now the question is, how do we switch admins from reactive mode to proactive mode when they're managing their fleets? I use the word fleets here because we often refer to a number of runners that the user is managing as a fleet. So you'll often hear me say like fleet of runners or runner fleet. It means that. So the way that we are taking a first step to be able to switch them to this more proactive mode is by providing them better visibility into their performance of their fleet early and often. The three main things that we're focusing on are fleet health, which is online and offline runners, and failures, which are super important. runner capacity, which for our first step is runners that are running jobs right now and how many they're running. Each runner can run multiple jobs at one time. It's something that you can configure based on a single runner's configuration. So we would like to give more data, but at the moment we only have so much. So this is going to be like our MVC. And then lastly, we're going to share mean wait times, which will help us, like specifically in these situations who are waiting for a job to get picked up. How long does it take for runners to pick up a job? And we learned these key data points from running solution validation. I'm again not going to go into that, but I did link it. So if you want to look at that, you're welcome to. Okay, so this is our dashboard. This is more of like the end result. So once you see the implementation, it might not look like this just yet, but we're getting there. It's behind a feature flag at the moment, but as you can see, we have something specifically about fleet health. We're presenting the runner failures, which for our case, if we go back to the scenario I put us through, if a runner is failing at that moment, the admin needs to know. So this will give them immediate visibility into that. And then we have active runners over here, which are those runners that are running a specific number of jobs at one time. And then you actually get a list of the jobs that they're running if you click on those too, which is really nice for them to get visibility into that. And then this is the thing that brings me the most joy on this dashboard is this graph of wait time to pick up a job. The reason why is because our CI builds table in our database at GitLab is the largest table. And actually being able to store historical or even current job metrics is seemingly impossible because we run so many jobs per hour. We at GitLab, we run over 100,000 jobs per hour. So storing all that data in a performant way is pretty difficult. But the key for us to be able to do this is that we use ClickHouse. This is something I'm going to bring up at the end if nobody has questions to discuss more about, because this is the only thing that like enabled us to be able to create a feature like this, and it's great. So our next steps, just as our team moves on with this dashboard, we're going to run an early adopters program to get feedback on the feature before releasing it fully. The reason why we need to do this is in order for self-managed users to use this dashboard, they have to obviously enable the feature flag, and then they also have to do specific things to get ClickHouse to work. So we're going to run them through a whole setup document for them to be able to do that. And then we'll continue to get feedback from them. And then we have a lot of more iterations on the dashboard to get to that final vision state, as well as new features to add in the future. And I've linked both those epics in our document. And then lastly, obviously, we want to release fully. And we especially want to add this to groups on our GitLab.com on the SaaS program. So that is kind of the end of that. I wanted to hop over just to see if anyone has questions before I bring up that larger discussion item.
I have a question. The design you showed looks pretty robust. What's your vision or end game? Like, where do you think this will end up?
Yeah. So I would say this was our initial vision, but obviously we can't continue to add as many features as we want to this dashboard. Like that's not going to be feasible or scalable for us. So we'd like to, without adding things to the navigation, we actually are going to be able to link. I think we ended up using like contextual links as the name for this, but we want to link to full reports of these things. For example, viewing all failed runners will show a full list of these so that you're not just seeing a snapshot of them. And then as well as like wait time to pick up a job, it will be a full report. So that is more of our end game, is to be able to link out to view more details about these things. Does that help answer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was curious about the active runners on the right and how they're numbered like that. Could you go into a little bit more detail?
Yes. So we are just showing the top 5 active runners because if we're looking at this first runner, of course I named them all 501, but let's pretend that they had a distinct name. If they're configured to run 100 jobs at the same time, and you see consistently that they're running 90 jobs, then there might be a chance for the admin to be able to lower the number of concurrent jobs so that they're not paying for as much machine size as they are currently. So like if you wanted to run 100 jobs at a moment, they would have to be a certain machine size and you'd be paying more. So by ranking these, we're trying to give them a little bit more insight into which runners are running the most jobs at once, because those are the ones that you can see that you might be able to tweak to run pipelines more efficiently, and then to like not pay for as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then where it is the number of jobs that would be clickable.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would go to a breakdown of all of those jobs.
Yeah. So each one of our runners has a details page, and it has a list of all jobs that they've run. So we would link them there and they could see all of the 90 jobs that are in progress. It's very similar to like the jobs list in for a project.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That seems super valuable for users. That's awesome.
What's the communication mechanism? So right now, users or developers have to ping admin to say, "Hey, what's the deal?"
Mm-hmm.
How did you get around that?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. We haven't solved that just yet. I think I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment, but I think what we're missing is, yes, we'll give admins more insight before problems happen by showing them these dashboards, because we can give them some historical data. But I think what would stop this is for developers to be able to self-serve themselves. And we haven't made progress to give developers more information yet. For example, we could give developers a mean wait time for their job to be picked up in pending state, but our priority right now is giving admins that.
Cool.
Did I also hear you?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Did I also hear you say something about like there could be more items on that dashboard? Like there could be more data that's configured in various ways, because there might be an opportunity for us to collaborate. It's currently in the backlog, but Andy, actually, when he was the designer on Threat Insights, came up with this, what I think is a genius idea, where there's so many variables when it comes to vulnerabilities, like the number of vulnerabilities that came in over time, or the level of severity, how many criticals, or where are they coming from, if they're source code, like SaaS vulnerabilities, like where are they being detected? There's a lot of ways you can break down that data. And so rather than just reactively design a different widget, Andy came up with the idea of just like, what if we built out a configurable dashboard where they can just like, let's say a drawer or something opens up and it's like, what information do you want in this widget? And so they're basically designing their own widgets, and that's a lot more scalable. So I don't know if that would make sense for runners as well, but if so, we could collaborate on it, although that's probably a 2025 thing, or 2024. I don't know what year it is, like next year at least.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think that would be helpful for runners, and yeah, we should definitely collaborate on that. I think where we're at right now is just giving them a step into like getting this visibility first. And then I think it would be great to give them that flexibility to create their own dashboard, like you're saying, because in a similar way, even runners relate to jobs. So they might end up wanting to see job data on that dashboard. And I think we'll get to know more as we get feedback on that feature. Yeah, I have a lot more to say about that. So we can talk async because there's a lot more research Erica actually just did that relates to that as well.
Oh, awesome. Great.
Yeah. I think I'm at time. I had a question that I wanted to get the team's opinion on as well, just based on what you've experienced in similar data sets, if you're dealing with large data sets. So maybe we could fill that out async if you have time.
Yeah, perfect. And thank you for keeping track of time, because I totally missed it. Okay.